Jim Joyce, we're back. We're back. We missed a couple of weeks here and there, but I think our listeners and viewers are used to it now. We keep them
Yep.
on their toes.
Right. Summertime in Europe. You can't expect too much out of us.
And hey, listen, we're hardworking entrepreneurs here, so all good. Before
Yep.
we let our guests in, actually, as we've been trying, so Jim and I do this for free out of fun. So please hit subscribe, pass this on, tune in, like it, all of that stuff. So
Excellent. Well done. Well promoted. The shot of digital health. Eugene.
that's right. That's right. I'm also excited. This is going to be our second long form podcast. And so I'm super excited. Just happens to be that our first one was with a doctor, and this one as well will be with a doctor. So I'm going to let in Jack. Look.
Hello.
Jack, welcome. It's been ages. I was just trying to actually reminisce where we met at Daniel Kraft's event ages ago.
Yeah, it would have been cool. I don't know. Maybe pre-COVID for sure. I think.
Oh, for sure. But
I think pre-COVID is like, I don't know, whatever that is. It's like a thing.
It was like last century kind of thing. So, but anyway, listen, welcome. And I appreciate you jumping on with us, Jim, Jack, Jim. Jim and I do this almost every week. We skip here and there once in a while, but, and thanks for being our second guinea pig for the long format. We usually do this on Wednesdays, but typically kind of 45 minutes in and out. But we felt that conversation with you, we can go in so many different directions. And I think as our listeners and viewers will get to know you, will appreciate why we wanted to do it a little bit longer than the 45 minutes.
Pleasure. But I'm looking forward to it.
So with that,
We find you, Jack. Where are you right now?
Yeah,
I'm in London. There's a picture of the moon back there, but I'm not on the moon. I am all in London. By the way, would you like a more fun background? What would you prefer?
Well, yeah, I was just debating the same thing. I threw some beach up there, but you're fine. Your background's perfect.
Let me see what, I mean, it's a bit gray, isn't it? Let's have a look.
Listen, with all the AI stuff around us, sometimes want to break, but fun is fun. If you got a cool one that's handy, if we chill. Okay, I'm in Barcelona now, and so Jim and I, just before we let you in, we were saying
this isn't the bad one, is it? I mean, or is that too much? Maybe that's too much.
We're for the viewers, I think it will be relaxing. They can put some music on as well and meditate. For the listeners, they're not going to care. So
I like this. This is great.
I feel like well, listen, I don't know if you, we obviously don't prep for these, but the idea here is that for our millions of listeners and viewers, we want to get to know you, Jack. So you tell us a little bit of your story. You can start from birth. You can pick up wherever you want to go. Jim and I, given the fact that we have, at least an hour and a half-ish, we will interrupt rudely throughout the process and get to know you.
Sure. Yeah, brilliant. Well, thank you. It's a real honor to have been invited, and thank you for making me the second person on your long format. So background. Okay, how do I do this succinctly from one cell to 38 trillion cells 51 years later? Right? So that's I mean, maybe not in one sentence, but born in London, I was actually a technologist before I even got to medical school. So I was deeply interested in human-computer interface. I was fascinated with the way in which humans talk to machines and machines talk to humans. And obviously that's a big deal right now. But even back then, I was pretty convinced that computers would become a huge part of our reality and our world. And then paid my way through medical school, doing a lot of human-computer interface stuff, UX design, product, UI. I worked for Douglas Adams, the late great author of The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Oh, wow.
The famous trilogy in 4 parts. And that really, I did my first Google search next to him, and that was like a 97 or 98 or something like that. But throughout medical school, I was working at the Digital Village in London, and I mean, I don't know if you know much about Douglas, but he was a really like a prophet in a way.
Right.
Technology and humanity and Earth and life, the universe, and everything would really evolve. And what he created in his mind, obviously about like nearly 50 years ago, was this concept of the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, which was a handheld device with a touch screen, which had within it access to all the knowledge and wisdom in the universe to help people get through and work their way around this strange spiraling and he thought that maybe the right thing to do was to not create encyclopedias, but to allow everyone to contribute. And that was the beginning of h2g2.com, which I was very honored to design the UX for. And
sorry to interrupt, but what was the search?
The search.
What did you search at Google? You're going back to the Google search. Yeah. Do you remember your first Google search? What was it? Longevity. Yeah.
You know what? There you go. Yeah. Will Jack Kreindler remember his name in?
Well, what strikes me is he was so formative to me. Reading, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, right? So, I'm still to this day obsessed with this concept that if you fall correctly, then you can float and eventually fly. You remember that from the book?
And other probabilities. Yeah. I mean, he really was an unusual person, but he was inspired. He inspired Jimmy Wales through H2G2 to create Wikipedia, and that was really amazing to think that even back then people were thinking, hey, the canon of wisdom is not the minds of a few professorial people that get to write textbooks, but it's everyone.
Right.
And I realized at that point that everything that we knew about this thing called medicine that I was studying would change. That what was.
And where did you go, by the way? Where did you go to medical school, Jack?
I was at UCL, University College London. Yeah.
My daughter just graduated undergrad, applied medical sciences program there.
Oh, no way! Oh, cool. Well, she missed the graduation speech that I gave last year. I'll send her.
Yeah. And Jim, is Jack frozen for you as well? I think we just lost him. So I don't think we can fill in his storyline. So.
No, we can't. Other than I want to talk about this. Like, oh, here we go. We got back.
There we go.
The beach.
Yeah.
And we were afraid a wave took you out from the water.
I'm sorry. I think that was my Wi-Fi had jumped to the next door neighbor's Wi-Fi. So I do apologize. I'm now back.
Oh, good.
Turks and Caicos Wi-Fi, I have to tell you, but I
we
wish
are
it were.
Meticulously unproduced, so Jim and I used to filling space, talk about nothing. So all good.
One of the brilliant things that Douglas Adams said, I always remember, was the difference between building systems that might go wrong and building systems that could never, ever, ever go wrong. And the difference between building a system that might go wrong and building a system that could never, ever go wrong is that when the system that can never, ever go wrong goes wrong, it's normally utterly impossible to fix or work out what happened. So I'm quite glad that we're working with Wi-Fi, which inherently was built to go wrong. So there you go. But,
but you mentioned you were a technologist, but you also designed UX, right? You said it. Right. And then as you were designing UX and being a techie with, machine to human interactions, you were putting yourself through medical school at UCL. So I'm recapping for myself. More so than anything else. Okay.
That is how I managed to get through without being too desperate.
And what did you focus on in medical school Like, what was the specialty, or how did you?
Yeah, medical school still is a pretty broad thing. So I did an undergraduate degree in physiology, which is how to make the body go right, and then medicine, which is what happens when it all goes wrong.
Right.
And it turns out that nature as well designed it to not
Right.
not ever, not never break. But my interest in technology was completely adjunct to medicine. There wasn't tech in medicine in those days, so it was like I was completely weird to be so interested in those things. And of course, the UCL Medical School and the information technology departments couldn't be further apart. Now they're kind of all completely woven, and the likes of other alumni like Demis Hassabis. He was DeepMind's founder.
Yeah.
He was as well. I mean, he's doing stuff in medicine now, folding proteins like nobody else. So it's very interesting seeing how a generation has gone past, and 25 years has just seen the most unbelievable and unpredictable changes. But I had a sense that things would change, and left medical school, went into emergency medicine initially, but at the same time started my first tech company. So,
Okay.
And what was the tech company? So tell us a little bit there.
A very, very daft idea, but turned out to be quite good in the end. So the idea was, is there a way that we could ask very simple questions of very large workforces and give them information that otherwise they could only have got if they had had a chat with a physician, with a coach, or with a health expert, and then give them a nice report, give them some nudges, help them move along, sleep, stress, nutrition, fitness, basic medical health, those sorts of things, reminding them to brush their teeth and go to sleep, and what's the difference between a carrot and a Mars bar, that kind of stuff. Really, really simple, but anonymously taking all of that and telling HR departments of these big companies where they were going wrong, where not their staff were going wrong, but where their policies were going wrong. They would make small changes, and up to a certain point, every dollar that you put in got you $7 of less insurance claims for this absence. And then Cigna, which was it's a well-known big US insurance company, figured that this was a cool thing to just put into every corporate plan. And so they acquired it. And that was in 2000.
Amazing. That part I didn't know about you. So good to learn that.
I'm sorry. What company? What was the name of the company?
It was called VLife, VIELIFE, Life. A bit of a French-English fusion. And it was very interesting because over those years, I got really into performance science, and really what we realized is that physiology and performance science is the mainstay of what we now do in preventive medicine. So you've got to fuel people right. You've got to get them to sleep. If you're an elite athlete or a special forces soldier or an expedition leader, it doesn't really matter. Any of these extreme environments, even just people like us who just work too much, that's kind of an extreme environment too. If you use performance science, you end up preventing disease. And so that was a really lovely thing to see in action. And I don't think at the time there were any doctors who were also sort of parallel hospital medicine trying to use technology to improve health outcomes and prevention. So I feel as if it was a little bit of a first. So.
Where I know we didn't, we kind of typically go through it, but I think there's just so much in every one of these things just to unpack. So I'd love to actually understand, because I've been reading quite a lot, and especially I'll say the younger generation, resilience is way down, right? Everybody's constantly talking about anxiety. And so when you talk about performance, where does that kind of correlate with resilience? So in order to be performative, right, and be at the high performance, you have to have, I would assume, a high resilience. And so I don't know, just your thoughts on this.
Well, it's an interesting, if you look at the word resilience, it comes from the Latin two bits, re, which means again, and silere, which is to jump, to bounce. So it literally means to
Bounce
jump up
back.
again.
Yep.
And you don't actually need to be very resilient in order to perform well if you're doing a certain level of performance. But there comes environments, extreme environments, where just by the very nature of the demands on you, it goes beyond enduring the pressures, and you break. And you will be pushed down past your limit and have to bounce back again. So they are what I would describe as extreme environments, and they don't need to necessarily be extreme in like atmospheric environments. They can just be tough working situations, lots of hours, tons of travel, multiple threads, dealing with pressures, which the average person who is in a safe job probably doesn't have to endure. But most of us, I guess, people like the folk listening, you guys, me maybe, are all putting ourselves in positions where we do fall down. And resilience is the ability to not only get back up, but get back up with learning. And that is obviously what you need to teach people who are.
When you, sorry, Eugene.
Go for it.
Yeah, no, just right. When you think about like, okay, this idea of resilience and performative, I feel like there was just a few gaps for me coming back. Like, you jumped right into technology and medicine. Did you come from a family of like clinicians or people in that space? So a lot of times medicine is kind of a family business in some ways. So you were inspired, and I'm picturing, you're walking around London, and what was your big family, small family? Like, where'd a lot of this stuff?
My dad was a German Jew who was asked to vacate his home in 1938. My mum left Croatia's Tito's regime in Croatia, and they both met in London with not really many other people around. It was just them, with a sprinkling of other folk in London and Europe, but mostly they'd gone to different parts of the world. And I don't know, I was just born with a gene. I don't know what. I think nature just cast its net wide, and I
think the curiosity gene, that's also a part of it.
Yeah, I think so. I don't think I was born with any particular example. I read Shackleton's Endurance when I was 9 or 10, or at least read about the expedition, and was almost completely hooked with the idea of mountain polar exploring, this kind of strange ideal of going to vast places with no one around. Yeah,
we'll get to that topic as well. That's a super interesting. I can't wait to hear that one. But
yeah, but I mean, that's the only thing I can say sort of started me on thinking, oh, let's do lots of things in the time that we've got.
And you grew up all the whole time in London.
Yeah. Very, very much a North London boy until things started getting crazy with lots of embarrassingly large air miles and things. Yeah.
So let's pick up from where we left off. You sold the business to Cigna, right? Kind of what was the next sort of journey? And did you stick around with them? Where, what was next in your path?
Yeah. I mean, broadly speaking, after doing that, and also having started a little incubator where we did some cool problem solving in healthcare and built a few little solutions that we sold, I gathered enough to start the Centre for Health and Human Performance in London, which was just my idea of, hey, let's get a bunch of the coolest people I've ever worked with in performance science and medicine, and just get us to work together to solve tough problems, get people to climb things they never could have imagined they would, or get through really tough things that they would maybe not have otherwise survived. And that still today is probably I feel that that's my greatest achievement as far as breaking new ground in clinical practice. And it has given birth to all the other things that I've done since. And that was in 2007, like nearly 19 years ago. So,
Well,
And who were the people that were coming in, right? Because when I think about performance, I think about athletes a lot of times, right?
Yeah.
Just, and that's kind of, even if you look at our health, there's, I'll say, prevention, chronic disease management, and performance, however you want to picture that circle, right? Who were the clients? Who was coming in? What type of individuals were you helping, right? Is it across the board, or just, talk to us a little bit, and what was the journey like for those individuals coming in?
We would have expected it to have been a mixture of athletes and wannabe athletes, like kind of,
Yeah, like me.
like
I'm a wannabe athlete.
if you said to me, hey, I want to climb Everest, I go, yeah, okay, we've got some work. No,
Yeah.
I'm just,
Hey, listen, I second that. We got a lot of work to do, but
but the idea was, we called it the Center for Health and Human Performance. So it was getting the very best minds together to amplify health, to elevate health, and to get people to get more out of their bodies and brains for longer. And that's who we had tried to attract. We got athletes that had unexplained performance issues. We got cyclists who wanted to get into Team GB. We got all the comic relief and sport relief. We did all of that for 15 years, getting those celebrities fit and ready to swim the Channel, the length of the Thames, the three peaks in the middle of winter. Yeah, just all the craziest stuff you can imagine. And so it was like getting the likely to get back to where they wanted to get to, getting the unlikely to get to places they definitely didn't think they could get to. And then it started to sort of attract folk that were more just like busy people who
just want to get their shit together
and realize, oh no, I'm now 40. This is not cool. Oh, hang on one sec. I don't know what's good. That is not. One second.
No worries.
Who was that? You or me?
We didn't hear anything.
You didn't hear anything?
No.
Somebody's
on your beach.
I heard something ring, but you didn't hear anything.
No.
One sec.
Jack now has super hearing too.
Someone was ringing us. I think a caller was ringing in, but I am not sure. I'm not sure. Maybe if that disturbs us again, I'll try and work out what's going on. It might be a computer next door. But
no worries.
So we started to get people who wanted to just have more energy, sort their kind of health stuff out, and they were looking at us as, okay, if this is super health, if this is performance at a super high level, that's really cool. Can some of this science actually help me just simply stay fit for longer? Because I don't want to be just feeling tired and end up with a heart attack at age 60. And so that started to become another group of people that we started looking after. And then we started looking after really, really sick people. So folk would send their patients to us, anesthetists, surgeons, oncologists, saying, hey, can you assess and optimize the fitness, the physiology of this patient? Because we don't know if they're going to be able to make it through this surgery that they need, or this chemo, or other kind of major things where we kind of were very much at the beginning of knowing that fit people do better. I know that sounds ridiculously simple, but you have no idea how little the medical profession understood or embraced that.
Right. And when you look at Jack, when you all these different people that you saw coming in, like, so like Eugene and I show up and we, one wants to climb Everest or one wants to do, some amazing, physical feat that they didn't think we were capable of. what's the big learnings? Like when people walk in and tell you their dream, like who makes it through? How do you tackle them? What kind of truth did you uncover about that?
I think passion, which is the initial driver, commitment, which is the ongoing driver, and team. You can pretty well get anyone to do anything if you have those three pieces.
Okay.
If you don't have the passion at the beginning, it's very hard to get people to want to actually aim for something that might take them 5 years to train for, or they're just not motivated to do it. Commitment, I mean, we fall down because we get too busy and we get distracted. And then you can never do complex stuff alone. It is so hard. Even if you're a solo polar explorer, there are unbelievable things going on in the background and after. So,
it's interesting. I don't know if you know, but my wife and I were on Your Coach health coaching company, right? And a key component of that is coaches are good in behavior change and trans-theoretical model of change, and around, this pre-contemplation, contemplation, going into action. And where I was heading with a lot of this, to kind of Jim's point, or question to, did you see it in people's eyes, like this person coming in, like, Eugene ain't gonna make it, kind of thing? It's just a fly by night. We'll have his credit card for 3 months, but that's it. Or did you believe that somebody like Eugene can make it? Yeah, that
anyone can make it. You can change people. When someone's diagnosed with an awful cancer, they've been told they've got 6 months to live. They won't make it probably through to getting fit enough for even attempting an operation. They're in a low place, and just have to believe that you can help them find that passion. If you don't believe that you can do that, and by the way, most doctors, it's not our job and it's not our training to be proactive coaches. We're meant to be great, responsive, ideal, wise counsel and consultants. We're meant to receive. I think that's our thing, really. I think we should be coaches as well. But if you bring in the kind of stuff that is the same expertise, the same energy as you get when you get a top athlete that's feeling super low and has been injured, and they'll never get on the running track. There's no way they'll get to the Olympics. There's no way they'll ever get up a mountain again. If you get the right energy into them, they can change. And that, I've been a massive believer in optimistic change. Yes, you fail sometimes, but you can't go in ever thinking, oh my God, Eugene just ain't gonna do this. And that beautiful thing is seeing that transformation. It is so rewarding, and it just gets us out of bed in the morning. It's brilliant.
Amazing.
Curious, maybe just one more on this one, and we continue. You mentioned you started with, people that wanted to go to South Pole or, climb some mountain, and then, started then working with, oncology patients. I'm sure each one has its own, I'll say, rewards, but just where was your heart, or is it all just like Dr. House challenge? Like, here's a problem I have to solve, and that's how you approached it, right? And it's almost irrelevant.
I haven't really thought about that much. I think solving problems creatively, things that haven't been invented before, processes or protocols that haven't been done before, that excites me, because I'm a creative. So I guess that's one part of it. But the other part of it is that I think the true spirit of medicine, and I think that I was kind of wired to end up in a career like this, is actually getting the people to get the most out of life, whether they've got 150 years to live or 150 days.
Right.
And for me, that is real longevity. if you can help somebody who's been given a death sentence and still 2-3 years later they're in board meetings and you have just tripled their life expectancy, that is deeply, deeply rewarding, just in the same way as getting somebody to achieve a peak or a summit or a business goal, or more time where they can ski with their grandkids. It's all the same. It's all the same dopamine hit, the same reward for somebody like
And
myself.
this space, Jack, like it just feels like it just feels like so much is coming. You know, like I follow all these guys, like you know, our Peter Diamandis and Brian Johnson, and you know, and it just seems so much more data than I've ever had before, right? So you were 2007 that you were right. Is that right? You were set 19 years ago, and you were setting this up. So what's your take on everything? There's so much information available. There's so much like longevity and optimization and performance stuff's out there. How are you reacting to all that, and what do you think about it?
I mean, we're having a great time because all these dudes are doing an incredible amount of advertising for us. And yes, look, there are some people that are getting fooled, getting hurt, spending money on stuff that we kind of, both we and nature are both quietly giggling at. I'll be honest with you. We don't take the sort of the super critical, sardonic view.
Okay.
We are hyper critical of bad science, but you know, we also are libertarian in a certain way, which is people have got to be able to try stuff.
Try things.
Is it better to live in a world where regulation completely stops free will? Or do you allow markets to kind of sell bullshit some of the time, but also end up making breakthroughs, which end up becoming status quo 20, 30 years later? I think we have to run as many experiments as possible and be happy that sometimes those experiments will end up with people getting hurt, and sometimes they'll end up with people making major breakthroughs. Specifically, information which is provided by individual biohackers is not science. And the one thing that we tell our clients and people that come to us saying, oh, hey, after I took an NAD infusion, I went blind in one eye. Well, that's because you took a massive pro-oxidant straight into your bloodstream without blocking CD38 or NNMT or PARP pathways. And they go, what are they? And I go, well, that's why you should come to people like us before you stick weird things in your face.
I feel like I'm in this.
Yeah, like why would anybody do that, right? Like to me, it's just crazy. I mean, even whatever you think of Brian Johnson, right? Like, I mean, he's spending whatever, 2-3 million. I mean, there's a whole Netflix documentary. I'm sure you guys have seen it or heard of it. And actually curious on your thoughts on, and to your point, you need to be able to experiment. I even think some of the injections he's doing, some that were offshore, where I don't remember that part of the movie, but
in Roatan, yeah, that's right. Yeah. Just down the road from here.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, exactly. Right over that, you know. Yeah.
I feel like, you know, I'd love to get your take on it, but it feels to me like he's making an effort to do some science research, putting a team around him.
Look, you only know if something works or doesn't across enough people 40 years after you've started.
Right.
That's the reality of,
And longevity. So the word longevity means the length of the time that you're alive.
Right.
And there is zero evidence in humans yet. And I mean zero in the biohacking stuff doing what they claim it's going to do, which is to extend human lifespan. Right. People have kind of realized that it's like so far-fetched that they've now said it's about health span, and the biomarkers which we use are more orientated towards, hey, does it look like potentially you're turning back certain clocks that where we know that younger, healthier people look like this versus older, sicker people look like that. But, you know, hey,
Oh, there's also theory age is a disease, right? And you can cure that disease. That's one of the theories. I mean,
Sure.
I'm not sure if I subscribe to that theory fully, but
look, I would say that it's an amazing thing that that doctors and the medical profession need to get humble about, that they've been absolutely awful at talking to human beings about prevention. Every single public health pharma is about, the best pharma drug is not to do with preventing disease. Those things are called vaccines and or lifestyle medicine, and they're of no interest to industry. So health systems who want to decrease the amount of cost incurred, and health insurance companies and public health systems have all had zero success in talking to human beings. Okay, apart from maybe smoking, which didn't come from talking to human beings. It came from shaming human beings by sticking them outside instead of indoors, and tax. It wasn't about behavior.
but also disincentives, right? Your premium will be higher.
Exactly.
If you smoke, right? Your life insurance is going to be costing you more.
But it wasn't because, hey, Eugene, you're a smoker, Jim, let's talk about this. Okay. It didn't come from that. But what the longevity movement has done is suddenly shifted prevention from being this defensive, boring thing into being aspirational, being cool, being, yeah. I mean, people think about the word longevity. I don't know if anyone really, really seriously, apart from the diehard immortalists and the evangelicals, I don't think they really are thinking, am I going to live to 150? They might, a few, but really they're thinking, actually, I'm going to stop drinking so much alcohol and I'm going to eat clean, real food. And and so,
it just feels better.
You got to take your hat off. Got to take your hat off to that movement, because it has.
You got to let me get in here.
Yeah. I'll be quiet.
Okay. No. So I got my list here as I was listening to Jack. I got so I go on and I hear about from your man there, hyperbaric chambers, creatine. What's the other one? Metformin. And then there's this there was new news recently around new kinds of genetic cell manipulation happening right now. So is all that like just recipes and part of that stuff, or what's your reaction to? The one thing it says do it, the other thing is don't do it. Back and forth.
Live is a 100% fatal sexually transmitted disease. Okay. And we've all got the virus. Okay. So I just want to point out that none of what we're going to do is going to escape us from an eventual decline. But what we're trying to do is we're trying to square the curve of decline. So there's this thing called the Karnofsky Performance Scale, which is we use that as prediction of how long you're going to live or whether you'll survive chemotherapy and cancer treatment. And actually, the Karnofsky Performance Scale, 10 out of 10 is that you can do everything super well, and 1 out of 10 is where you need people to literally lift you out of bed to go to the toilet or to even move, right? And our job is to make sure that slope is as squared off as possible, so you're 60, 70, 80, 90, right? That's squaring the curve. That is the compression of morbidity. Okay, right. And so everything that we want to do in true health optimization, human performance science, is to work with the best possible medicine to square the curve, while not making people boring, because you spend a lot of your life living very conservatively, very defensively. And I mean, while Brian Johnson has the "don't die" mantra, we have the "don't die dull" mantra, which is like whatever it is, just don't die dull.
Listen,
now,
fun and humor is medicine.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, would I take Brian to the South Pole? Look, by the way, I've met Brian a few times, and one-on-one, perfectly cool. His idea of creating a religion, I've told him face to his face, sucks. And I think he'll get to only 1 in 1,000 people that he possibly could get to, if only he dropped the Messiah thing.
But it's also his commercialization engine, or he's trying. It's it's a startup in its own way, and he's
load of money. It's fantastic as a business and as a spiritual movement. But like, so like individual sort of conflicts or friendships or whatever aside, what are we trying to do? We're trying to square the curve. We're trying to create an individual, a father, brother, mother, partner, whatever it is, who is not dependent, not low on that performance scale, so that they remain independent and not dependent on the ones around them and on society and on the treasury and on all of those things. So that's the aim. Our North Star has got to be for us to be kicking ass into our 8th and 9th decade of life, be still skiing with our grandchildren where we're 89.99999, and if the day we die is 90, die.
Yeah.
Super quick, preferably jumping off something at the ski park.
Yeah.
So that is, and we have to like we just have to get cool that awesome old people are going to be relevant, still speak the dialect, still be great for those around them that love them and for society, and make that cool. Don't make just existing cool. Okay. And to say that the greatest virtue is existence is just plain wrong. There is no good virtue that's an absolute in any case. I mean, axiomatic thinking kills societies and causes despots, and we know that. But in general, we have to make both prevention cool. Calling it longevity is a good thing. But then let's make the longevity of us as kick-ass societies cool. Okay. Rather than the individual. You mentioned, Jim, a couple of cool things technically, but to ask a brain like mine or a team like mine, what do you think of this? And you take atom like hyperbaric oxygen therapy, or you take an atom like Circle IO, the place down the road that does that myostatin gene doping, or I can't remember what else you said, creatine,
metformin.
Right, yeah. Metformin, by the way, is a more spiritual version of metformin, but it's called
Sure. I'm in them both.
I love that metformin. It's great. But so like those are all individual things. Okay. Now the real question you should be asking is not what do you think of or should I be taking? The real question you need to be asking is what do I need to know what to take?
Okay.
And actually,
and what's right for me as the individual and where I am on the health journey, right? I think it's
what do you need to know what to take,
right?
And when, even if and when. And would you give metformin, would you give that to a healthy 11-year-old?
Right.
Would you rapamycin to a person who is super fit, super well, their mTOR pathway, MP kinase all working unbelievably well. They're metabolically fit. They're in the army. They're exposed to a lot of viruses. So you want their immune systems to be kicking ass. Do you want to give them a profound, powerful, super interesting thing that turns off mTOR, but also turns off a lot of your immune function? Or is it okay to think about somebody who's 70, 75, who, if you measure their T cell function, for instance, you can see that even though they've got a lot of T cells, they don't work that well because their suppressor T cells are maybe doing a bit too much hard work and they're telling their good T cells to go to sleep. And you reset their immune system with a very defined protocol, whereby you're measuring the effects and you're saying, okay, that actually worked on you.
Right.
You get the next person coming along with the same thing and going, well, maybe it's more likely that it's going to work on a similar kind of person to help reboot some aspect. So I think the thing is that we think of nature way too simplistically, and the paradox is that somebody like Brian Johnson, what he's doing at least is he's committed to what he's doing. So he's actually saying that he's going to do something. He's carrying on doing it, whether it's for his business or it's for saving humankind, doesn't matter. He's still committed, and he's publishing his data. All good things, but it is still so simplistic. Like people who say that biology and aging is an engineering problem, they're having a laugh. Like, you know, the three-body problem. You've got Poincaré's conjecture and all these other sort of fantastic mathematicians that prove that we could never, ever predict anything just with three things orbiting around each other, right? We're talking about a human being is a 38 trillion body problem. You have 8 trillion single points of failure. Each of those single points of failure have a trillion moving parts in them.
Right.
Come on, we know nothing about anything. Okay.
And I love, now that you said it, people used to compare healthcare. Why do airlines, can fix airplanes and be perfect and with, and then I've seen so many presentations around it, but I mean, I guess you just kind of answered those people's statement.
Right.
You should just feel so blessed that you wake up each day and somehow 5 billion years after this ball of rock created, somehow or other nature made these weird things that can talk to each other on Zoom, and really make the most of that. And don't be dumb, protect it. Don't let an asteroid that hit you. If you can find a cancer early, screen for it, do that. If you can reduce your chance of getting an atherosclerotic plaque that's going to break off and kill you early or give you a stroke and paralyze you, of course. If you can use science to keep you fit, if you can use creatine to maintain your metabolic function more than without using creatine, there's great evidence for that. That's of your list of things, Jim. That's one of the things which now,
I'm writing it down.
Like no brainer. I mean, unless you've got kidney failure or some other thing, and
I love this. I'm reading this. I started listening to the podcast, but I just started reading the book on called Fluke. Have we talked about that, Eugene? Like Fluke?
No, I don't think so.
Phenomenal. But it is actually a fellow that trained at London School of Economics here, next to you at UCL. He wrote a book, called Fluke, and it's about the theory on it is that we control nothing and influence everything, which is a lovely statement. And he talks about that his existence coming into the world was that if he looked back, his grandfather was married to a woman that ended up committing a horrible murder of her family, and he remarried. And then this guy eventually was the grandson of this fellow. And he said, my whole existence was a fluke, right? It was a fluke by all
nature.
Wow.
Fluke. It's a beautiful fluke. Okay.
Yeah. So he became an economist and wrote this beautiful book. And it talked about, how, the Hiroshima or, that where the nuclear bomb, ended up not landing in Kyoto was based on one of the generals that was involved in the decision, had vacation there at the age of 19 and fell in love with that location and convinced the bomb to go to a different city based on his thing. So it's like all these people lived based on where someone went to vacation at age 19. So that's when I think about Brian Johnson, those kind of thoughts kind of run through my head. It seems like spiritually the same direction.
Yeah, look, there are so many things that can and will get us, and there are many things that are nothing to do with aging that can just get us too.
Yeah.
And I came back a couple of days ago from one of my dearest friend's houses. He's 53. I've known him for gosh, how long have I known him for now? 38, 37 maybe years. And fit as you like, vegan, meditates, does soup kitchen once a week. You know, he's literally, you cannot believe this guy, his benevolence, his love of his family. There is, if you were God, you would send this dude he'd get the fast track, you know, at
Yeah.
the Heaven Airport, right? You know, he'd be going straight through first class, lounge and all. And you know, he got a kind of a feeling that he was wobbling a bit when he was playing football a year ago. And now he can hardly walk. He's got ALS, and he's got probably, I don't know, maybe 6 months or a year. And you know, we just got to have a little bit of humility. The folk that are really kind of pushing it are usually, they don't, a lot of them, from what I've seen, a lot of them don't have kids. A lot of them have a lot of money. A lot of them have a lot of time. They're privileged in a lot of ways, but also I just kind of get a sense that they don't really understand the reality of nature. It's fluke that we wake up every day. It's fluke that we wake up every day. It's a kind of like it's an allostatically stable fluke that we wake up every day intact. But you know, we've got to cherish that thing that we've been given. I think unanimously, no one in the world that thinks that something is beautifully magical, emergent, and phenomenal, and I use those words very, very carefully, actually, as human consciousness and human being is anything that we shouldn't cherish. Okay. But to live your life pursuing just the extension of that being, it is not the highest purpose of medicine. And I think a lot of my colleagues need to wake up and get back to what really being a physician is about.
I think part of that, it's been just drilled into our society, right? It's, you know, it's the sick care component, and it's extending somebody's life just for the, I'll say, sake of years. But, you know, you brought up earlier Healthspan versus lifespan, right? And so, and okay, yeah, how do we square that? And I love the comparison, like 80s, 90s skiing, fall off and just crow. Like, I don't know. But you know, Jim brought up earlier something that I want to actually go back to, you know, data, right? I mean, our bodies are generating data 24/7. I think I've heard Maneesh, Juneja, who we probably know out of London, always said that, right? We're generating data 24/7. There are, you know, I'm curious on your thoughts. I mean, I've done Neko Health myself. There's Superpower, there's Function Health. You know, my sort of challenge, and I gave that feedback to Neko, for example. It's great, you know, it's knock on wood if I'm healthy all as well, but then you potentially end up inside this broken healthcare system if there's something, right? And don't get me wrong, I'm all for prevention, I'm all for testing, I'm all for biomarkers and getting to know the baseline. I'm curious on your thoughts on, again, you don't have to pick out one of them, whether Neko Super, but a lot of these preventative testing, Prenova, right? Prenova, I think. Yeah, Prenova. Thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I know all of these people really well.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah,
you know, I love, and again, for me,
I'm a fan. I love data. I love doing these things. 2,000 images of my skin in 30 seconds was amazing, right? Like, I mean,
but here's my thought. Let's just take Neko. Like, I know, I know those guys super well. Half a dozen
Deal and team. Yeah,
so, yeah. They've gone there, and they don't need to go there because they can easily afford to go to the top dermatologists and cardiologists, and you know, we organize all of that kind of stuff for people, as you can imagine, being a super team, a multidisciplinary team of folk who have no infrastructure. We just send people to the right place. But why also send them to a 300 quid scan that does what would get done anyway by an expert? Now, it just so happens that a few months ago, I can't quite remember when, I suddenly appeared as the only doctor being quoted in the Series B press release of Neko's $280 million raise or whatever it was. And I phoned up Shaq, one of the early investors, and I said, yeah, dude, like, I thought I was just giving like a random interview. And he goes, yeah, well, it ended up in the press release. And I knew what was going to happen. And it did. A bunch of my colleagues phoned me up saying, are you, have you sold your soul? Have you lost your marbles? And I said that, hey, like, first of all, like, full disclosure, I have a zero stock in this. I just say what I believe, and what I said, I still 100% stand by. And that is this. If you go to Neko, today, the vast majority of people are saying, please, can I book in for next year? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You tell me how many GPs hear that from their patients. They are smashing on the door of their patients going, it's time for your renewal. You're a year late, like, we really need to get you in, because the experience of screening, the experience of engagement in a preventive health setting has, for years, or for the entirety of history, been bad. Okay.
Yep.
Maybe Lanzerhof makes it a bit cooler, where you go to a fancy place to get, like, pampered, and it's awesome, and it's in the Austrian and German hills and whatnot. But in general, going to see your GP for an annual check ain't fun. Okay. When you guys all got the iPhone 1, which I presume you did, and a lot of readers did, how useful was it when you first picked it up?
Yeah, I mean, it was cool, but minimal.
It was cool, but what was on it? There was nothing on it, right? Was it any better for phone calls? And was it any better for taking photographs than a non-smartphone or a non-camera, right? No. The reason you got totally hooked on it was because the experience of that smoothness of, it's the user experience. And you go into somewhere like Neko, and it represents what the future feels like. It's not a waiting room where somebody behind an old mahogany desk is going through paper going, oh, yes, it looks like you'll kind of have to wait 45 minutes. I'm afraid the doctor's late. And then you wait for 2 weeks, and you're chasing the doctor for the blood results. Within 1 hour, you get your results on a shiny app. You've had your body scan, whether or not for the moment it's better or worse. Leave the clinical efficacy aside. Think about engagement. We need to get people more engaged.
For sure.
And that is...
I was blown away. I mean, from the, slippers to just the experience. It was on time. It was, warm colors, again, no doubt. But what it left me lacking, right? And again, we run a health coaching company. So for me, it was just interesting, because here it is. And I, have type 2 diabetes. I'm reversing it, with exercise, etc. And what is my plan to get better? Right. So to me, the follow-up and the plan was,
sure,
book my next appointment, which, okay, baseline, sure, right? But to me, that's what's missing through a lot of these.
Viable engagement. It's at least you've started the process. So, do you think Neko, if they're sensible, are going to stay out of the follow-up game? No, of course they won't. I mean, they're destined to do things like that. So, but today it's teething problems and it's issues. But you tell me where for $300 you get such a good experience, even if it doesn't tell you anything more than going to a really good dermatologist and a GP and going to the doctor's laboratory or Randox or Thrive or whoever it might be to get your bloods done. It's fine. It will get better. And I think that we just have to look at this not as, let's get scared that these dudes from Sweden are going to destroy the integrity of the medical. How do we learn from these folk?
Right.
That's really it. But I do have to admit, I like to always give the the balanced side of the story. Yes, we've had a couple of patients who haven't had the best experience because they've had the heebie-jeebies, being told that they almost certainly have something that needs to be chopped out, where we've looked at it going, what? And our dermatologists have said, that's too defensive. And so you get into the problem of what we, in a very pejorative way, call vomits, which is victims of medical imaging technology. And it's kind of like, we're still not there yet for some things with respect to
But to be fair, it's not only on Neko, right? I mean, there are doctors that make those mistakes too, and there's second opinions. And so I think, I'll give them credit for, to your point, getting the experience right. And, hopefully they contact you or others for second opinion, right?
If you're a doctor, go. If you're a patient, try it. If you've got the money, don't people spend $300 on an expensive meal, and I don't think it's a bad thing.
Listen, I'm going to schedule my next one. And then maybe we'll grab a nice meal afterwards. But
and then I can properly read through the results and tell you what's.
There you go. There you go. I can send me my my January ones. So
yeah. But AI as well, right, guys? Yeah, I get a lot of people saying to me, AI scribes, for instance, are incredibly unsafe. They haven't been tested. Nobody knows what's going on. And one of my responses was, yeah, sure. I mean, these things make stuff up. But guess what? When I was at
there was nothing before.
8 hours a week. Let me just say, I was making stuff up at 4 o'clock in the morning when I had no sleep for 3 days. And the error rate for knackered doctors in emergency rooms is phenomenal. At the best of times, you sleep deprive them, and it turns to worse than drink driving.
Right.
Okay. So you've got to kind of think about these things, not just as a absolute clinical excellence, but what's the practical reality of these things? What is the practical reality of today's health systems? Do we have the capacity? Are we investing in what really is critical national infrastructure? No, we're not. We're putting more pressure with more patients who are more sick, with fewer doctors and less time. And we need to start allowing ourselves the latitude to be okay, not happy, but to be okay, and to closely study some of the things that, if we implement them early, could save an untold number of lives, stress, anxiety, people leaving the health system in order to go become ski in Bondi Beach. We got to fix this. And so technology, I'm coming back to my technology thing. This is not me speaking as a doctor and a regulatory expert, but just as a techie, like, innovation literally is the opposite of practice. Practice means the repetition of a norm to perfection. Innovation means disruption of the norm to make something new. We need both. Do both.
My son just graduated just came out of secondary school here in Ireland, and he's off to medical school, right? And he's off to medical school now in Italy. So 6 years. And I'm looking at him, and he's, just, one of these kids that, or not kids, young men now, that just always wanted to be, a doctor, and, is practicing, getting some experience by meeting with other, as he was studying to try to get into the program. What's it going to be like when I just think about 6 years, when he gets out in 6 years, just feels like we're going to go through this incredibly intense induction of all kinds of new technology. Like, what do you think's happening for him as he comes out over the next 6 years?
Well, I think I mentioned before that I was given this real privilege of going back to UCL Medical School last year to give the graduation. It was almost a year ago to the day that I gave the graduation speech. I'm there. I'm 50. They're 25. It's 25 years later. And one of the things that I said is, first of all, I have still no idea why I was asked to give this speech. There are literally 20, 30,000 other alumni who are way more qualified and esteemed than I am to give the graduation speech. But one of the reasons I gave where I didn't think I should be giving this speech was very concrete. It was this: there has never been a time in history, really, until last year, maybe the year before, where we were so certain about how uncertain we will be
Right.
with respect to the future of work and what the medical profession will look like.
Right.
It is going to completely change.
Right. Right.
And if you don't digest technology, it will devour you. We in our practice, I mean, hey, having been doing tech before medicine, this is kind of unsurprising, but we are very safety conscious, but super early adopters of AI scribes, of time-saving tools. We're actually spending more time doing everything because we double-check everything. But we believe that unless you create platforms, exemplar platforms like we did back in the day with the Center for Health and Human Performance there as a place in Harley Street, as an example of what the future of medical practice would look like. Now, in our remote practice all over the world, we're building an example of a practice where every doctor is superpowered by technology. And we really hope that a lot of the stuff that doesn't need human brains will give us time to be the bartender and the priest and the coach, and nuanced navigator of things where the LLMs are still quite far behind. But it will change. It is impossible to say when he gives the graduation speech for his medical school, what medicine will look like. Impossible.
Right. It's impossible. Right. And you know, when I think about it, when I think of it's like the nature of the person. Like we have a good friend, and you probably know Vishal, Vishal Gulati, right? Is it
Gulati? Yeah.
And he always had a thesis when he was doing investments and projects that said, you know, if, you know, the UK had put someone through medical school and then they now wanted to go be an entrepreneur or technologist of some kind, that he was a bias towards backing them, right? Because here we just invested so much money in training this person and exposing them, and they survived a very rigorous academic competitive process, and obviously are, you know, have probably the commitment side of it, maybe a bit of the team and passion to kind of get through all that. That of course I'll bias towards backing those people, and I'll be your first check-in, and so I feel like that is, you know, when I look at it for him, that's how I feel right now. It was just like, you're gonna just develop yourself to such an extent going through the rigor of this academic pursuit. We kind of don't know how to apply it once you get out the other side, you know.
But it's great if you get the brain to be doing things rather than being told how to do things, and you're dealing with atoms, you're dealing with the physical, the electron density fields that are generated, and the strong nuclear forces that are generated by your hands when you lay them on another person to this is all good stuff. None of this will ever be not useful. But things like terms, do I need to come in to see a doctor? That will just be done and dusted.
Right.
And self-directed healthcare will be through automated devices, and it will just give us more time to do some of that real atom to atom stuff.
Right. Or we end up in a post-apocalyptic scenario where the doctors are really needed.
or that.
I mean, we're certain that we will,
and we're all living forever anyway without doing, except for going to Roatan and getting strange gene doping in hyperbaric chambers. But yeah, the reality is we're always going to need doctors. Your son's going to have a job, but what exactly that looks like in practical terms on the pure kind of process and intelligence based stuff is really not. I mean, one of the challenges with codifying medicine, making it more manageable, electronic record systems, and so on, is that is actually helping algorithmize medicine,
Sure.
but a lot of the edge cases, and most cases are edge cases, or at least 30-40% of cases follow the rules. That's why we have these things called clinical acumen as well as best practice pathways. And we're given legally the latitude to bend rules because so many cases are edge cases. I think that if we rely on machines to do the thinking for us, we will find that there is a big gap in the way we train our brains, not just in medicine, but in other areas, to actually use what they broadly call system 2 intelligence. System 1 is like LLMs. It's intuition. It's based on a lot of cases. It's based on a lot of, it's basically spooky fast shortcuts to get to. We right now by speaking, we're not really thinking about the next word. It's just coming. This is all system 1. And system 2 is this deep search, which AI is getting better at, but it's still not genetically encoded. We're genetically encoded with search systems in our brain to actually solve difficult problems with incredibly little data in an amazingly short period of time. And that is something which, when you've got an emergency case in front of you and person's bleeding through their ear and got something coming out of their eye, and there's no rule book for this, you get it sorted. That is all system 2. So you need system 2 as well.
Where do you see empathy falling in? System 1, system 2?
Either. System, everything. This whole thing needs to be wrapped around, why do we care? Intelligence is, you can get love from a pet dog, from your kid who might have Down syndrome, from someone with very little education, who somehow or other just connects with you as a fellow mortal being. And I think that's not taught really in medical school, but it's society needs to teach that, and again, kind of maybe give it a bit more recognition than it currently gets, as we make things into processes and code. There are some things that are very, very hard to codify, but I do hope that that's not just going to be limited to the medical profession. I hope that pervades.
I think we need more empathy in this world these days to sorry, but just to kind of maybe on kind of the similar topic on, if to your point, 30 to 40% of the cases, it's ingrained in our DNA. It's how do we react, right? Maybe some of that can be coded away, some of it won't be. But, if we think about, doctors and bedside manner, but there's always this, but he or she are a great doctor, their bedside manner, they're maybe an asshole, but they're just great, right? Do you see then the future becoming a little bit of, if us humans are augmented by AI and technology to help us sort through a lot of that, right? Does, quote unquote, being a great empathetic doctor become more important in the future? Or do you think it just doesn't?
Was it Demis recently who actually said that nurses are more likely to have a job in the future than doctors in today's framing? I think he said that recently, or someone told me he said that. And I whether he did or didn't say that, I do apologize if I'm making something up. But the point is this: nursing is about care, and it's the application of care physically. Okay. Counseling, therapy, helping,
health coaching,
not just health coaching. I don't know who it was. Florence Nightingale that said that a doctor is part doctor, part philosopher, part priest. I think my friend Jordan Shlain, famous doctor from America, said that a doctor is part physician, part like the doctoring bit is gonna the basic, what's technically the right thing to do, what dial do I need to press, what dose do I need to give, a lot of that kind of stuff I think will be more intelligence based stuff that can be artificially delivered. And I think it will give us more time to do the stuff which we're really bad at, and that is being the carer, being the nurse, being the coach, being the philosopher, the bartender, the priest. I feel very optimistic that we will get people into medical school who are not just technically excellent at maths and chemistry and biology, but actually show huge human acumen and get back to possibly what the real essence of medicine, I think, was when it was first sort of conjured up those thousands of years ago.
Can we fast forward to today? You also have WellFounded you running. Can we talk a little bit about that? I mean, first of all, I love the name. But tell us, what are you doing there?
Well, WellFounded is just the global rebrand of the Center for Health and Human Performance.
Okay. I didn't put the two together.
CHHP is very academic sounding and stuff, and WellFounded is kind of cute.
It's more like longevity and, okay.
What does a well-founded health system look like? And as you know, we've been looking after a lot of founders who became unicorns and investors and these kinds of things. So aside from the ultra elite athletes and the super sick people, a whole load of the people that we look after are also founders, and they start things. So it kind of resonates with our principal audience. And anyway, I like the name.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's it. It's the same thing as what we did, but during COVID, I kind of said, okay, we've been doing CHHP for a while. Let's dematerialize it. I don't think people are ever going to need to physically visit places, except for when you need to have a scan or an examination. I think the world will become more remote. People won't want to sit in waiting rooms. People want immediacy on instant messaging, safe, encrypted, etc., etc. People will use Zoom just as much as they use physical consulting rooms. And so we decided at the time that even though we still have the physical lab down in that famous road in London, Harley Street, we would do all of our work as an global expert advisory for people's health, long-term experiential goals, whatever they want to do, whatever they're trying to achieve, live forever through to just get through the next 150 days and everything in between. And that's what WellFounded does. We look after a few hundred very cool people who we think are purpose-driven, change-making kind of folk who are changing the planet, and we're there to serve those people. Yeah.
Is that where the South Pole? Sorry, Jim. Is that where the South Pole trip originated from, or we got to talk about? No, okay.
Well, I mean, in WellFounded, our clients, people pop in from time to time, but we have a few hundred members that kind of, for one reason or another, they trust us and their families with their long-term needs and health goals. We do have a big emphasis on what we call experiential medicine. We believe that nature and tough environments, the kind of weird things that I personally like to do, which is go to very remote, cold, often cold, often silly places. That is a place where you can learn, heal, find yourself, repower to run your business better and just become a better human being again. And I mean, I haven't yet found any form of therapy which for this little spend gives you high intensity interval training, zone 2 for several days, complete meditation, absolute resilience training, bouncing back from those moments where you feel as if you can just, you're broken. It's a constant cold plunge because you sometimes very
Yeah.
complex. What else are you getting? You're getting keto at times. You're getting, you're getting everything. You're getting every single possible thing you can imagine in one big dose. And you come back feeling like I don't know, nature is really an amazing thing. If you get the right people together in a tough environment where they're not going to totally break, but everyone's going to have their moments. Even the stuff we do in Norway each year, we do a little polar training thing for leaders, and we call that we call that experiential medicine as well. It's just 3 days, 60 kilometers, 2 nights camping out, dragging your whole life with you, just like Shackleton and Amundsen and Scott did. But it doesn't need big doses of it. But I think nature and extreme environments teaches us something amazing about ourselves and our bodies and our brains and our teams. And yeah, I so far have yet to find anything better that feels as good and does as much good for your body and brain as these sorts of expeditions. And the South Pole expedition, we did take several of our clients there, but it wasn't kind of you join our practice, we drag you to the South Pole. It's not obligatory.
It wasn't the selling point.
We might get you to go to Neko every now and then.
Sure.
Yeah.
But it was beautiful. It was an amazing opportunity, and it was a military and academic medicine group that couldn't afford to do this incredible expedition they wanted to do, which was looking at men versus women and why women seem to lose less muscle mass and do better in hyper endurance settings. And so it resonated very much with our practice and our patients, some of whom have done very well. Some of them done very well. They ended up getting together and sponsoring the whole thing pretty well. So they go to an incredible place. We measured 17 million footsteps, breaths, everything you can possibly imagine. And they contributed to science, they contributed to innovation for the military, and it was just a really amazing, unique opportunity. And it was.
And sorry, how long was the I'll call it the measurement time, but also the trip? What's the?
So it took about 1.5 years to organize, 2 years to organize. Then we had 2 parallel trips. So it actually ended up being the largest expedition to the South Pole in history, believe it or not. One group coast to pole, and the other half was the last degree unacclimatized, where the coast to pole is nearly 2 months, and the last degree joined for the last 10, 12 days, and then you meet at the pole. And we were looking at how unacclimatized versus acclimatized makes a difference as well. I led the last degree group, only because it would be very difficult for me to take 4 months off work. I've got to tell you, that would be. But yeah, so one group nearly 2 months on the ice, and then 2 weeks for us lot. So yeah, it's a real chance of a life.
What did it take you to prepare yourself, even for those 12 days? Right, like I'm just trying to think.
The hardest thing was organizing out of the office. I got to tell you, when you turn your WhatsApp back on.
Yeah.
I recorded the whole thing. It was a spectacle. Everything, but literally being just totally off grid for more. You are, and then you've got to mentally and physically prepare yourself. When you get dropped off on this endless epic white disc with nothing, but there is just a horizon of this dark blue sky and this orb of light just circling around you, like it never sets, rises. And you're maybe 2 weeks away from him. I mean, if 50-year-old me gets a bit of angina because whatever, I'm maybe 2 weeks away from getting definitive hospital care. That's scary. You got to be prepared that you might not come back. I'm not being over dramatic. This is a possibility.
Oh, listen, yeah.
But you got to be reasonably fit. I wasn't, but I always managed to. I don't know. When you're organizing a trip like that, It
Right.
is.
Yeah,
Well, I
a
was
lot
going
of
to say there's a mental preparedness, there's the physical preparedness, there's the, your friends, family, prepare them for it, right?
And when you're dealing with 8 of the most amazing founders and investors that you can imagine, and trying to herd them to get everything done in time,
the unheardable.
yeah, it was magic. I mean, you could write a sitcom,
Yeah.
all of this, but it was magical. And
Are you
we
going
came
back?
Well, why don't you come with me, Eugene?
That's a call to action. I'm mentally and physically prepared. I just got to prepare my family. So that's the long tail here.
Come to Finster first, where the Empire Strikes Back, the opening scene, the ice planet of Hoth was filmed. That's where we do all the training. Come with us for 3 days, and then we'll see if you're up for it. Even spying you right now from this side of Zoom, I can tell that you could muster up the passion. I reckon.
I'm in, at least for the first part of it.
Right.
It's not warm. It's quite cold. I got to tell you. It's
Okay.
it's a very, very unbelievable and remarkable place. But yeah, we also feel quite conscious that those places are also at risk because of climate change and all of these kinds of things. It makes you feel really conscious that, hey, we're a bunch of well-to-do humans that, I mean, we're talking about things like longevity when there's a bunch of folk who are wondering whether they're going to eat tomorrow because of
Sure.
climate change and stuff like that. So we have to we have to tread carefully about these things and make the most of life, but also care for the planet that we're using for all of this wonderful adventure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Jim, do we go to you, my friend? Or because I know I interrupted you a couple of times. So if you want to bring,
no. Got excited about the topics, but I wanted to get my analysis, my advice in, right? But and listen, Jack. So we are going to project ourselves 10 years into the future, and Eugene has completed his trip to the South Pole with you, and your next setting. Your condition is completely reversed at this stage, Eugene. All your
thank you. And I'm a complete calisthenics expert. Jack, I started doing that like 2 months ago, and I'm like loving it. So just I know.
Will you have hair again?
I don't want it. Honestly, I don't want it. I have this. It's more of a hassle. Yeah.
I'm just trying to get a picture. I'm just trying to get the
okay. Thank you. But I'm not really a big part of it. But
we're in a hairless future for Eugene. We're in a beautiful. Anyways, so we just completed it, and you're invited. You're invited to come back, and it's only one of 2 people to come back and to do the commencement speech at UCL. For a second time, or maybe there's probably others, but one of the most important ones. And they want you to come back and give this commencement speech because you have successfully navigated the medical profession through this recalibration of how to think about the future. People left and right are living these amazing lives till age 90 and then just dropping healthy and happy and off the grid in this lovely, fantastic way. But we're just watching this beautiful Healthspan of people tackling their lives, or we're inspiring people, and they like you to come back and give this commencement speech. And so you are, you get up to give the commencement speech, and you talk about the 38 trillion cells that are standing here today. And you think of your Croatian mom and your German dad, and you're growing up in London as you're giving this talk. Little tears are in your eyes, and you're giving it at the end of the talk. Everyone's in tears and laughing and enjoying and signing up for WellFounded. And at the end of it, this young man is standing in the audience, and he is, he says, "You don't understand, Jack. I have to talk to you, Dr. Jack. I have to talk to you. I was a technologist. I grew up in London like yourself, and I went to medical school, and now I'm starting my first, longevity technology entrepreneurial play. I've been to the I've done polar plunges in the far reaches of the earth. And you look at that young version of yourself, what's the one piece of advice you would give him as he starts his company?
I would say family. I would say that if you can get one decent dose of family at home once a day, you will be a better doctor and a better human being.
Love it.
That is it. All
Love
the
it.
rest is
Love it.
What a way to finish the episode. Jack, thank you so much for joining us on as a guinea
Thank
pig
you.
here. And for all of our viewers and listeners, hit subscribe, pass it on, and see you next week.